Do souls linger around once someone's passed away? Now, before you say absolutely not, or you write a comment or like, yes, just hear me out on this. Do souls linger after people have passed away? I tell you what, after 10 years working in hospice, right? Being with so many people that have passed away, here's some incredible things. And it just makes me sit here and think, are they lingering for a little bit to bring comfort to their loved ones? Yeah, think about this for just a second. So, I've been in patient rooms before. I can remember one gentleman in particular that was seeing his dead relative come for him. We're going to call her Mary. Mary came for him to help bring him to the other side. And he sat up and he's like, Mary's here now, and talking about her like she's in the room. None of us could see her. But you know what? The energy, the feeling of love, the light in that room was so comforting. I found myself like going into that room a lot because it just felt so warm and comforting in there. And then, of course, when he passed away, the energy and the light, plus there was a lot of family that came to visit in that room, was just, it was really, really nice. And that's just my own personal take on it. But there's been a lot of instances where patients have said they see their deceased sister or mother or dad or even a dog come for them in their last moments of life. And to corroborate that they're really seeing someone, like say they're like my grandfather, who I always loved, came into the room, and they're telling the nurse and their family that their grandfather came in the room to visit with them, to make them know that they're not alone and they will not be alone when they cross over, like their family or friend is here coming to get them. And then a nurse or a family member will say, after dad said that, I walked in the room after he said he saw grandpa, I smelled cigarette smoke, or I smelled that familiar cigar smoke in the room. So literally the nursing staff and the family is corroborating that, yeah, the patient saw something. I can tell you how many times I have witnessed incidences like that. And, there's so many stories online too that you can point to. Was it last summer or the summer before that, I put out the video that when my family member passed away, and for the longest time, my husband and I would talk about, I keep smelling cigarette smoke in a particular room where I was thinking about this family member a lot. And she was a smoker for many, many years. And I kept smelling that cigarette smoke. Nobody around me smokes. My family doesn't smoke. We didn't have windows open. And I kept smelling that. I think once my husband smelled it too. But now I have to say, I have the best sense of smell. And if you're a woman out there watching, after you have kids, you know how your smell becomes really, really, like, shall I say bionic? Yeah, we get like bionic sense of smell. Like you can smell things. I remember when my neighbor's house was on fire and nobody smelled it. No one in the house here. And I smelled smoke. My husband couldn't smell anything. Well, it turns out they did have something wrong with the fireplace. The smoke was coming inside the house. I could smell it. He couldn't smell a thing. I can smell things across town. It's wild. And even when I've had COVID, I never lost my sense of smell or anything like that. And there is something too when women get pregnant, they do develop heightened the nerve cells that allow us to smell, that connect right to the brain. It's heightened so that way you're not eating spoiled food or rotten food, and that way you don't harm the baby. So plus our feet grow, our bones spread out. It's women, we go through a lot of weird things, but I do love the fact that we get a heightened sense of smell. Even sometimes when I see people with sore throats and it ends up being strep throat, you can smell that strep throat. When people get C. diff, like in facilities, you walk down the hall and you're like, somebody here has C. diff, which is Clostridium difficile. It's a bacteria, not really a bacteria, but it's infection that patients get, and their stool, the diarrhea, it just has a particular smell. And if you're in healthcare, you know what I'm talking about. Like there's certain illnesses you can smell a mile away. And so I think, as far as being in healthcare, having a developed sense of smell is really great. But yes, I've walked in the room when I've been really thinking about my deceased loved one that I miss so much, and I literally smell the cigarette smoke smell. It stopped happening. It was happening like within a year or two of this person's passing. It hasn't happened since. I think they're probably on the other side having way too much fun. They're like done comforting and visiting us. But it makes me think that I think it's possible that souls linger for a while to bring us comfort, to let us know they're okay on the other side. And maybe you smell roses, or maybe you smell gardenias, or that pipe smoke, like you're just, or that perfume they used to wear. That would happen a lot of time in the hospital or hospice facilities that I'd be in, because I'd have family members tell me, I smelled that cologne. And, maybe a nurse had the same one on, but I smelled the cologne that my mother used to wear. And every time I walk in this room, I'm smelling it now, like when they go home and they're walking in like the room that used to be hers, they're smelling that smell. I find that really interesting. But beside me smelling the cigarette smoke and me assuming it is my loved one that's passed, because maybe I'm wrong, maybe it wasn't. Yes, there's something in medicine where you smell smoke or you smell unusual things. It could be the sign of a sinus infection or even a brain tumor. Yeah. But then I never had the smell since. So I know there's nothing medically wrong with me. Yeah. But not only that, but patient, like what I've said, when there's been really wonderful, peaceful passings, I have to tell you, the feeling in that room of someone having a really peaceful passing, and when there's loving energies around, you can literally feel it in the room. And if you've been around a loved one that's passed and it's going well, which I mean, it's like the patient's comfortable, they lived a good life, right? I mean, everyone makes mistakes. So don't get me wrong. You don't have to be a perfect person to have a perfect death. That's not what I'm talking about. But generally, I've made lots of mistakes. Yeah. And I try to talk about my mistakes too. And I've asked forgiveness for my mistakes. I've asked forgiveness for my mistakes, but you don't have to live a perfect life. But that's why I always say 90% of the passings that I've witnessed, very peaceful and great. There's just that small percentages of maybe people that don't forgive themselves over things they regret, or straight up, they were just straight up not a good person, maybe an evil person. And those rooms, I always felt that energy. Again, thank God it was few and far between, which that's the good news too. Most people, it's a general feeling of warmth, light, and love in the room, and it feels so comforting. And even when they pass, like you can sense the energy is different. Like when the soul is still there in the body and you're working on the patient, working with them, even when they're not verbal, they're not opening their eyes anymore, you can still feel the difference from when their soul has passed. It's a very different feeling when you walk in the room. It's like literally nothing there anymore. It is a palpable feeling. But when they have a peaceful death, even the room is like that warm kind of like, oh, you just missed the party that left. It's kind of like that feeling. And so I do think that the soul might linger to comfort those around us. What do you think? Have you had that happen where you get a scent, a smell, or I've had people comment on my channel that, yeah, a particular butterfly or bird or whatnot hangs around. Lots of nurses online, there's videos aplenty on the internet that they talk about experiences like that. But I do think that that's possible. Does it happen every time? No, I haven't felt that every time with someone passing, but I love that, because I think someday when my day comes and I pass away and I have family, I just kind of want to wait for a little bit and try to just give the feeling of warmth and comfort to my family so they know I'm okay on the other side, Yeah. So I do think. What do you think? Have you had something like that happen? Comment below if you've had an experience like that, because I think it's helpful to other people to know that their loved one's okay on the other side, really. Okay. Thanks for being here. See you on the next one.